ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಕಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಆಪಾದ ಪದ್ಮ ಎದೆಗವತಿ ಹಿಡಿದು ನಡುನೆತ್ತಿ ಗೊತ್ತೆ ಕೊಂಬೆ. ಆಪಾದ ಪದ್ಮ ಎದೆಗವತಿ ಹಿಡಿದು ನಡುನೆತ್ತಿ ಗೊತ್ತೆ ಕೊಂಬೆ. ಉಸಿರಿಂದಲದನೆ ಬಲಗೊಂಬೆ ನನ್ನ ಕಣ್ಗೊಂಬೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿ ಕೊಂಬೆ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಕಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಕಣ್ಣಿಂದ ನಿನ್ನ ನನ್ನನ್ನ ಸೇರಿ ಎದೆಯೊಳನ ಬೆಳಕನೆತ್ತಿ. ಕಣ್ಣಿಂದ ನಿನ್ನ ನನ್ನನ್ನ ಸೇರಿ ಎದೆಯೊಳನ ಬೆಳಕನೆತ್ತಿ. ತಿರುಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ನಿನ್ನ ಚಿನ್ಮೋದ ಬೋಧ ಬಿತ್ತಿ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಬಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಭವಭವಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆತ್ತಿ ಒತ್ತಿ ತಂದಂತ ತಂದೆ ನೀನು. ಭವಭವಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆತ್ತಿ ಒತ್ತಿ ತಂದಂತ ತಂದೆ ನೀನು. ಭಾವಕ್ಕೆ ಇಳಿದು ಸದ್ಭಾವ ಬರಿಸಿ ಬರುವಂತೆ ಮಾಡು ನಾನು. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಕಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಅಂತರ್ಯದೊಂದು ಚೈತನ್ಯ ನಿನ್ನ ಕೈಂಕರ್ಯ ಕರ್ತೃವಾಗಿ. ಅಂತರ್ಯದೊಂದು ಚೈತನ್ಯ ನಿನ್ನ ಕೈಂಕರ್ಯ ಕರ್ತೃವಾಗಿ. ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಜ್ಞ ಬರಲಿ ಚೇತ್ಯೇಶನಾಗಿ ಮಧುಬೋಧ ಮೋದ ಮಾಡಿ. ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಜ್ಞ ಬರಲಿ ಚೇತ್ಯೇಶನಾಗಿ ಮಧುಬೋಧ ಮೋದ ಮಾಡಿ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಕಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. सहनाववतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति Shanti. Om Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhanavasthitatavati Manasa Pasyanti Yogina Pasyantam Surasvara Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Parthasarathirupena Shravayitva Shubham Giram Parthasyaartiharo Devaha Krupamurtis Sapatunaha. Let us chant from verse number 6, page 19. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे अच्छेद्योऽयमदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुः अचलोऽयं सनातनः अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति नासतो विद्यते भावः नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तः त्वनयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः. Bhagavan starts the teaching with self-knowledge, because self-knowledge alone is the ultimate solution for all sorrows. So how is this teaching given? The whole world is divided into two. One is Kshetra, the other is Kshetrajna, the field and the knower of the field. And what are the properties of these two? Kshetra is ever perishable, nobody can stop it. Kshetrajna is imperishable, nobody can destroy it. So this understanding has to be there. So Kshetrajna is imperishable, Kshetra is perishable. So if you want peace and happiness, where should you hold on to? You should hold on to the imperishable Kshetrajna, which is the self. The Kshetrajna Bhagavan say, Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashaya Sthitaha. This Atma in each and every being, it is me. I am the Kshetrajna. So this is the way to live life. Hold on to the permanent. Play your role in the realms of the impermanent. Now when these two divisions are given, there is a possibility in the minds of the seeker to misunderstand that there are two entities in this world, Nitya and Anitya, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, and both of them are equally real, and both of them are they have independent existence. This mistake one may commit. So therefore, verse number 9 is to prevent the devotees from the sadhakas to commit this mistake. So Bhagavan says there are no two entities, there is only one entity. Sat Vastu is only one. Sat Vastu alone exists. There is no existence for Asat Vastu. And what is this Sat Vastu? Kshetrajna is the Sat Vastu. Then what about this Anitya? That Anitya has no independent existence. It exists on the support of the Nitya Vastu, the Kshetrajna. So this has to be understood. In Tattva Bodha we have studied Brahmashraya Maya. Maya has no, it is not Nirashraya. It has no independent existence. It exists on Brahman. It exists because of Brahman. So this clarity has to be there. Right. Now Bhagavan compares this consciousness. How is this consciousness residing with the body? This has to be understood. What is the relationship between consciousness and the body? How do they coexist? So this understanding given in the next verse, verse number 10, page 28. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat Akasham nopalipyate Sarvatravasthito dehe Tathatmanopalipyate Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat Akasham nopalipyate sarvatravasthito dehe. Yes. Yatha sarvagatam akasham. Just like this space. What is the nature of the space? Sarvagatam. It is there everywhere. It doesn't get attached to anything. It doesn't stick to anything. Saukshmya, because it is sukshma, subtle. It doesn't stick to anything. It remains untainted, untouched. In the same way, sarvatravasthitaha atma dehe na upalipyate. In the same way, the consciousness which is all pervading does not stick to the body. So here consciousness is compared with space. And the objects in the space, that object is compared with body. Now this is a beautiful comparison. Consciousness being compared with space. Now let us see the similarities. Point number 1. Objects cannot exist without space. Space is the supporting factor. Object is the supported factor. Yes or no? Without space, nothing can exist. That is why the name Akasha is given. Avakasham dadati iti Akasha. It gives avakasha. It gives space for things to exist. Therefore, it is called space. It allows things to exist. It gives avakasha. So, therefore, since it gives avakasha, it is called as akasha. So, for any object to exist, there has to be space. Space is the supporting factor. Object is the supported factor. In the same way, consciousness is the supporting factor. Body is the supported factor. Without consciousness, body cannot exist. That which keeps the body together and alive is this consciousness. Point number 2. The space, being subtle, is invisible. Saukshmyat. The space is invisible because it is subtle. In the same way, consciousness, being subtle, is invisible. Just like space. The invisibility is common in both of them. Point number 3. Space exists in the object, but the space is not limited by the object. The space exists in the object, but the space is not limited by the boundaries of the object. In the same way, consciousness exists in the body, but consciousness is not limited by the boundaries of the body. Consciousness exists in the body, but consciousness is not limited by the boundaries of the body. This is point number 3. Point number 4. Space exists in the object, but the space is not affected by the object. Even when the object is destroyed, nothing happens to space. Space exists in the object, but space is not affected by the object. In the same way, consciousness exists in the object, in the body. Consciousness exists in the body, but consciousness is not affected by the body. Na upalipyate. Here it comes na upalipyate. Consciousness exists in the body, but consciousness is not affected by the body. This is point number 4. Point number 5. Truly speaking, space doesn't exist in the object, rather object exists in space. Truly speaking. In the same way, truly speaking, consciousness doesn't exist in the body, rather body exists in consciousness. So see the beauty of this similarity. Why consciousness is compared with space? There are so many similarities. That's why we use the term CHIDΑＫΑSHA. Chit means consciousness, Akasha means space. So we have this term CHIDΑKΑSHA, consciousness which is like space. So this is the relationship between the body and consciousness. This is the relationship between the supported body and the supporting consciousness. It is called as relationless relationship. Relationless relationship means what? Is there a relationship? Yes, body is existing because of consciousness. But actually is there a relationship? No. Consciousness is unaffected by the body. So thus consciousness is compared with space. In the next verse, consciousness is compared with light. Let us see that verse. Verse number 11, page 30. Na tad bhasayate suryah na shashanko na pavakah yad gatva na nivartante tad dhāma paramam mama na tad bhasayate suryah na shashanko na pavakah yad gatva na nivartante Suryaha natad bhasayate. The sun cannot illumine it. It means what? Consciousness. Na shashankaha. What is shashanka? Moon. Na pavakaha. Pavaka means fire. The sun, the moon, the fire, all these luminaries, that which has got light, cannot with its light illumine consciousness. These sources of light, they are all capable of illumining anything of the world, of this objective world. They are able to illumine. In their light, you are able to know things. But this consciousness cannot be illumined by these sources of light. Actually, this verse is taken from Upanishad. What is that Upanishad mantra? Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. So what does that verse say? Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. Surya, Chandra, Taraka, sun, moon, stars. Nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi na ima vidyutah. The lightning. O Lord. So this is the mantra chanted while we perform Āratī. O Lord, you are the one who cannot be known. In the light of sun, the moon, the stars, the lightning, then what to talk of this little fire which I am showing in front of you? How can I ever see you with this little fire of mine? So what is being done here? So this pujari, the priest, he has taken one Ekarati or Pancharati or whatever. So with this Āratī, he is trying to see the Lord. So normally this Garbhagriha will be dark. So Lord will be seen only when there is some light. So with this Āratī, you are seeing the Lord. But even when you are seeing the Lord, what is the mantra chanted? Bhagavan, you cannot be known by these sources of light. I am well aware. But still, I have made a ritual just to remind myself that you are that. Now what is that line? Nema vidyito utoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. O Lord, it is in the light of consciousness that I am able to perceive these outer lights. Not only that the outer light cannot illumine this light of consciousness, on the contrary, it is because of this light of consciousness that I am aware of the outer lights. In the light of consciousness, the external light is seen, is illumined. So here consciousness is compared with the ultimate light. What is the feature of light? What is the unique feature of light? A light in its presence makes things known, isn't it? Why consciousness is compared with light? What is the purpose of light? What is the unique feature about light? In the light, you know. In the presence of light, you know. So what should be the best light? In the presence of which everything is known, isn't it? Now what is the defect of this external light? The defect of external light is, at the most the external objects are known, but there are very many things which cannot be known in that light. For example, can the light show you darkness? External light. Can the external light illumine darkness to you? No. Can the external light illumine your own thoughts in you. There are so many thoughts and feelings and emotions and ideas. Can the external light show it to you? No. But what about this light of consciousness? It can show everything. It is in the light of consciousness that you are even aware of the darkness also. It can even illumine the external darkness. It can illumine your thought world. In which light are you aware of the thoughts in you? What is that light? In the light of which you are aware of these thoughts. Because when you want to know something, there has to be some light, isn't it? What is that light? It is this light of consciousness. So therefore, we can say this light is the supreme light. Consciousness is compared with light. And another unique feature about light is you don't need anything else to see it. Do you need another light to see this light? Light is self-luminous, whichever the light may be. You don't need another light to see this. In the same way, you don't need anything else to know consciousness. Do you need the support of anything to know consciousness? No. Consciousness is self-luminous. Therefore, consciousness is compared with light in our scriptures. Right. Now again, yad gatva nanivartante tad dhāma paramam mama. Consciousness is compared with abode, the supreme abode of the Lord. We will chant the next verse also. Verse number 11. Avyaktokshara ityuktaha tamahuh paramangatim yam prapya na nivartante tad dhāma paramam mama. Avyaktokshara ityuktaha tamahuh paramangatim yam prapya na nivartante tad dhāma paramam. Yes, the wise people say, what do they say? Tam ahuhu. Avyaktaha, aksharaha. This consciousness is avyaktaha, unmanifest. Avyaktaha, not vyakta, not manifest. This consciousness is unmanifest. So whenever unmanifest term comes, what should be understood? This is unmanifest for the sense organs. Avyakta means it is not available for the sense organs to perceive. Why is it not available? Shrotrasya shrotram. What is that? Manaso manoyat. Vachoha vacham sa prānasya prānaha. Chakshushas chakshu is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind. This consciousness means what? All the instruments function because of consciousness. So how can these instruments which depend on consciousness to function, how can these instruments perceive consciousness? So Gurudev gives an example of torch. The torch light is because of battery. Can you see the battery in the light of the torch? In the olden torch, you have to put the battery in and then close it. Then only the light will come. So the light is there, but the battery is in. Now you want to see which brand that battery is. Now suppose you want to see the brand, so you remove the battery. By the time you remove the battery, it's dark. So either you have light or you have the battery. So in the same way, it is because of consciousness that all the sense organs, the mind, they function. How can consciousness be known in the light of the dependent instruments of knowledge. So therefore it is called avyaktaha, unmanifest. Aksharaha, imperishable. Iti uktaha, the wise people, they speak of consciousness in this way. And this consciousness is paramam gatim, the ultimate gati, destination. Yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama, reaching which there is no return. So 2 verses this repeats, 11th and 12th verse. In the 11th verse it is said, Yad gatvana nivartante tadhama paramam mama, reaching where there is no return, that is my abode. In the 12th verse it is said, Yam prapya nivartante tadhama paramam mama. So consciousness is considered to be the ultimate destination. It is considered to be our home. Now what is the unique feature about our home? There are so many places you live, but which is the place which you love the most? Sweet home, we say, isn't it? Home, our sweet home. Why is it so sweet? Wherever you stay, you may go out and stay in so many places, maybe 7 star, 17 star, whatever star it may be. But finally, where do you really get peace of mind? You may say, Swamiji, wonderful ashram, etc. But by the end of the camp, everyone is planning to return, isn't it? Return where? Isn't it? One thing which we love the most is our own home. Why do we love? We love it because we are most comfortable in our home. It may be a small home, but even then we are comfortable there only. Isn't it? In our home, we are most comfortable. That's why we sometimes use this phrase. When some guest comes, please consider as your own home. Because anywhere other than our home, we are not comfortable. Whenever you go out, you have to wear various kinds of masks. Masks of social formalities, masks of etiquette, isn't it? You don't want to do, but you are helpless. You have to do because there are certain norms, there are certain customs, and accordingly you have to behave. It puts some kind of uncomfort. And that is why we get exhausted. In the morning we were discussing this. Whenever you put effort in something, you get exhausted. One place where you are at ease with yourself is your own home. Because you don't have to show anything. If you are staying in your own home, will you put makeup? When do you put makeup? The moment you go out of your house, you want to pretend that you are not what you are. And whenever you try to become something different from you, there is exertion, there is tiredness, there is misery. That is why we want to go back to our home. So that is one place where you don't have to become something else. Isn't it? Just observe. In your home, you are most comfortable because you know everything. You are accustomed. Even when the light goes, you know what is where. In your own house, you are most secure, most comfortable. You don't have to pretend. All the masks are taken and thrown out. Without dress also, you can sleep in your home, no problem. There is no covering. There is no pretension. There is no acting. You are as you are. And that is why we are most comfortable in our home. Isn't it? Bhagavan says there is such a home. Today we are all travelers. Where are we traveling? We are traveling from one body to another. This is not our home. We think this body is our home. It is not. Because deep down we are not comfortable inside. Why we are not comfortable? This body is like a house where the fire is already burning. Suppose your house is there and the fire burns. Will you be comfortable inside the house? No. Fire is burning means what? Kala Vyala. What is that? Mukhagrasta. We are like, Bhagavatam says that, we are like the people who are caught up within the jaws of the python called time. This is our condition. What is this house? It's already burning. A few more years and none of these bodies will be there. So in such a house, how can you be comfortable? Can you sleep when the house is burning? One part of the house is burning and it's okay, another 6 hours anyway. Can you sleep? In the same way, this Dhamma is not Paramam. You can never rest in this Dhamma. Isn't it? So we are continuously traveling. And any travel is an exhaustion. In most of the house, this story is always there. Dasara holiday, Deepavali holiday, Christmas holiday, and whenever the holiday comes, the entire family is charged up. Where to go? Where to go? So they plan some picnic somewhere outside, far away. The entire family, father, mother, children, all of them, fully excited. So what do you do in these holidays? You waste your money, you waste your time, you waste your energy, you waste your everything, totally exhausted. Finally, there is only one thought, isn't it? What is that thought? When we are tired and exhausted, we remember only one thing. Somehow I want to get back home. Isn't it? Vairagya comes. Everyone becomes mumukshu. Right. In the same way, this traveling is continuing now. The only difference is we are traveling from one body to another, one world to another, one experience to another, one environment to another, one relationship to another relationship. Constant traveling is happening. And whenever you are traveling, you can never rest in peace. Traveling and rest cannot go together. So can you put an end to this traveling? Is it possible? Bhagavan says yes. There is one place where yad gatva na nivartante, meaning once you reach there, your traveling attains a full stop, not semicolon. Now our travel is semicolon. Body is dropped, some rest, again start. So there is one place where you can put a full stop to your travel. What is that place? Tad dhāma paramam mama, that is mama dhāma, Bhagavan says. It is my abode. And what is that abode? That abode is the abode of consciousness. So consciousness is compared with our sweet home. In fact, this travel, the travel, life journey also we are taking only because unconsciously, unknowingly we go to that abode for 6 to 8 hours a day, get refreshed and then come back, only to continue the journey. Every night when we sleep, what are we doing? We go to this Dhamma. Bhagavan forces us into this Dhamma to continue our journey. So Bhagavan says, reaching here, nowhere else to go, nowhere else to reach. You have attained your destination. That is the glory of this consciousness. Bhagavan, will you please describe how self-knowledge can take us to this destination? What is the relationship? You said this jnana, kshetrajna knowledge can take you here. How? That is the next verse, verse number 13, page number 34. Nirmana moha jita sanga doshaha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha santnehi gacchantya mudhav padam avyayam tat nirmana moha jita sanga doshaha Yes, amudhaha gacchanti tat avyayam padam gacchanti. Amudhaha, the opposite of mudha is amudha. Mudha means what? Ignorant man, a man who is not aware of this knowledge. But this ultimate abode is attained by amudhas. Who are these amudhas? Those who are not mudhas. Meaning what? People who have gained this knowledge. Now the question is, how? What is the relation between this knowledge and that destination? So now see, so many connecting links are given here. Nirmanaha, nirmohaha, jitasanga doshaha, adhyatma nityaha, vinivritta kamaha, dvandvair vimuktaha, gacchanti. So first we will take adhyatma nityaha. What do you mean adhyatma nityaha? Adhi atma, pertaining to the atma, is called adhyatma. Pertaining to the self, nityaha. So the one who practices spirituality every day, the one who has kept spiritual goal the highest priority in life, the one who has kept this as the highest priority and constantly working, constantly doing sadhana, spiritual practice in attaining to this goal. That is the meaning adhyatma nityaha. The seekers working hard to attain this goal. Adhyatma nityaha. When you do this regularly, so that nitya term shows that it is not, the spirituality is not a Sunday church or a Friday mosque business. It is a nitya business. It is something for which you have to give your life. It is not a side business. Some main business is there along with another business, spiritual business. Nahi chalega. When the goal is high, effort also has to be high. For the highest goal, highest effort is demanded. For the best, you have to give your best effort. So that is the meaning nityaha. Every day, every moment, this should be the goal. The entire life is geared towards this goal. You may have short-term goal, long-term goal, but there is only one lifetime goal. And what is a lifetime goal? Liberation. As a part of your business or family, etc., you may have short-term goals. That's okay. But even those short-term, long-term goals should be geared in such a way, directed in such a way that you slowly inch towards, progress towards your lifetime goal, which is the self. Then alone life is rightly lived. This is the meaning Adhyatma Nityaha. When you are really serious about spirituality, then what happens? The first thing happens. Nirmanaha you become. Mana goes away. What is mana? Mana here means ego. This word is also beautiful. Mana, actually it means ego, the hankara. Ma means me, means to measure. Ego is that with which we measure ourselves. It's a beautiful term. What does an egoistic person do? He is constantly measuring himself by comparing himself with others. Isn't it? Egoistic person is the most miserable person. Based on his possession, position, looks, this and that, he is constantly measuring. When he finds somebody superior to him, inferiority complex. When he finds somebody inferior to him, superiority. Beautiful term. Every Sanskrit term is so beautiful. You don't have any other standards to measure yourself. So how do you measure? By the physical looks, by the possessions, by the positions. You measure yourself. So what happens when you gain the spiritual knowledge? Slowly you will find the ego disappearing, melting down. Because you come to know this ego is a phantom, it's an illusion, it has no existence. The ego has come because of an unholy, impossible marriage between the consciousness and the BMI, the sentient consciousness and the inert matter. What is ego? Consciousness identified with the BMI is ego. Consciousness identified with the BMI is ego. It has no existence. These two things cannot come together. Remember the film theatre example. Who is crying in the theatre? Some tragic movie. Who is crying in the theatre? The person sitting there need not cry because the problems in the theatre is not his problem. He need not cry. The person of the film, the hero, cannot cry because there is no such character. The real person need not cry. The unreal person cannot cry. Then who is crying? Who is crying? The real identified with the unreal. A third entity is born. No, actually combination is not possible. Real cannot combine with unreal. But such a thing has happened. That's why it's called Maya. Impossible but experienced. At the same time, inexplicable. You can't explain what it is. In the theatre I am crying. I don't know why. Got it? So really speaking, none of us need to cry because we are all Satchit Ananda Atma. Infinite bliss is our nature, but still we are crying. Why are we crying? Remember, the eligibility for studying this is Vishidantam Ashrupurna Kulekshana. What is the eligibility for spiritual study? Sorrow. Why are we grieving when infinite bliss is our nature? We are grieving because our identification is not with consciousness, our true nature. Our identification is with the BMI. So stop this identification and the sorrow also will cease. Just like in the theatre, what should the person do to stop crying? In the theatre, stop watching the movie. Finish. That's all. You don't have to pray, oh Lord, save that hero or the heroine. You don't have to do anything. Just switch off your connection with the screen. That's enough. Your Ananda Surupa there. Isn't it? So, Adhyatma Nitya, what happens when you start practicing spirituality? You understand the theory, you start practicing. So, what is spiritual practice? Disidentifying from what you are not and identifying with what you are. Disidentification from the BMI, identification with consciousness. So, what should happen to Mana, the ego, the real villain? The ego, since it is an illusion, ego disappears. This is called as nirmanaha. The ego disappears. And when the ego disappears, what happens? Nirmoha. Moha goes away. Delusion goes away. All delusions are created by this ego. A person who is egoistic. Ego means what? Ego means identification with the BMI. Considering oneself to be the body. The moment ego is finished, everything else is finished. The first thing which goes away is moha, delusion. What are the different kinds of delusion? Number one, I am this body. Now when I am this body, when you look within, what will you find? Suppose that person is sitting for meditation. With a full understanding, firm conviction, Esha Manisha Mama, what? I am the body. Now if he sits for meditation, what will he find inside? What will he find? He will find only imperfection. I am a limited fellow, limited in strength, limited in intelligence, limited in everything. When you start experiencing limitation, when you look within, you will be happy or miserable? You will be miserable. So naturally inside there is no happiness. Now where will you search for happiness? You will search for outside. This is another delusion. What? Happiness is in the world outside. See, where did it start? It started from ego. Wherever there is ego, there is delusion. Wherever there is mana, there has to be moha. Moha means what? Delusion. Delusion means what? Atasmin tad buddhihi. What is not there, you see it. What is there, you don't see it. Happiness is inside, you don't see it. Happiness is not outside, you see it. People argue also. Swamiji, why do you say there is no happiness outside? Whenever I indulge in pleasures, I become happy. Okay, sir. This is called moha. Delusion. Whatever is right, you see it as wrong. Whatever is wrong, you see it as right. See each and every term you see. Jita Sangha Dosha. Now you have projected happiness in the outer world. Now where will be your effort? Your entire life energy is diverted towards the world outside. Because now according to you, world is the source of happiness. You cannot live without happiness. You are in search of happiness. Happiness is not inside. Happiness you are finding it outside. So what will you do throughout your life? Run after the world. And when you run after the world, two things you will be doing. Acquiring what you don't have, preserving what you have. This is what the entire life is. Yoga Kshema. Acquiring what you don't have and preserving what you have. Now two terms are used here. With regard to the things which you don't have, vinivritta kamaha. Kama will come. Kama means what? Desire. Desiring what you don't have. And with regard to what you have, jita sangha dosha. Sangha dosha will come. Sangha means attachment. What you have, you are attached to it. What you don't have, you crave for it. These are all the blessings showered by your ego. Wherever mana is there, moha will be there. Wherever moha is there, kama will be there. Wherever kama is there, sangha will be there. Blessings. His Highness, His Majesty, the ego. Then, dvandvair vimukta. Dvandva is unavoidable. What is life? What is the world? Now you are chasing after the world. What is the nature of the world? World is uncertain. Nothing in the world is certain. Absolute uncertainty. And this world will keep on bombarding you with sukha and dukkha. That is called as dvandva. The pairs of opposites. Mana, apamana. Shita, ushna. Sukha, dukkha. Sanyoga, viyoga. Ninda, stuti. Heat and cold. Health and sickness. Profit, loss. Victory, defeat. Honor, dishonor. Praise, criticism. This is the world which is full of dvandva. So when dvandva comes, what is your condition? Misery. Isn't it? So see, along with mana, what all comes? With mana comes moha, with mana comes kama, with mana comes sangha, with mana comes dvandva. You are totally miserable. What does this adhyatma vidya do? Nirmanaha, nirmohaha, jita sangha doshaha, vinivritta kamaha. Kama is gone, sangha is gone, mana is gone, moha is gone, dvandva is also gone. Dvandvair vimuktaha. Sukha dukkha saine, he called sukha dukkha. So now, what is his state? His state is absolute freedom from desires. Desirelessness is his state. Why has he become desireless? He has become desireless because there is nothing to desire. Why there is nothing to desire? Because you are already perfect. What is it that you need? Infinity, it is your nature. Immortality, it is your nature. Existence, it is your nature. Bliss, it is your nature. Omniscience, it is your nature. What is it that you want? This consciousness which is Satchit Ananda, it has everything what you want. When you have everything what you want, you automatically express the experience of consciousness as desirelessness. Now once you become desireless, you don't have anywhere to go, isn't it? Even in the worldly matter also, suppose you don't have any desire. Will you go to the mall? Will you go to shopping complex? Will you go to the movie? Why? There is no desire. That state of desirelessness, that is called as Paramam padam gacchanti amudhaha padam avyayam tat. Tat avyayam padam, that imperishable abode he reaches, where there is no more return. There is no need to return because there is no desire. Every time you return to fulfill your desire, there is some or the other desire which forces you to return to this world. Now when you don't have any desire, why should you return? Isn't it? So this is the result of spiritual knowledge, spiritual practice. But Bhagavan, please tell me, where should I start from? I accept every day I should be, spiritual sadhana should be done. But where should I start? I will tell you. I will tell you. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Akasyit Dukkha Bhavave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.